Okay, good evening, parents. Let's get right into it. I'm excited to share with you my knowledge on medical refunds, and the timing of the year is actually very, very good. A lot of us have already finalized our tax return or just finalized our tax return, but that's not too late because there still is a couple of things that we can do, which we're going to discuss on the webinar to rectify what has been done. And I really hope that this is of tremendous value to parents. And, there's, knowledge is key. And the more we can spread the knowledge around opportunities for South African parents navigating neurodiversity, it's just a great privilege and an honor to be involved in that. I named the webinar Stop Missing Out on Medical Tax Refunds because I saw from talking to fellow parents how miseducated the South African community is when it comes to medical refunds, taxes in general, but especially in medical tax refunds. When we think about our taxes, we think about retirement annuity and, maybe Section 18As for donations to public benefit organizations. And whilst those are incredible opportunities, not everyone has the privilege of a retirement annuity, of making donations, but a medical refund, for the most part, is relevant to most South Africans. What we're going to discuss tonight is how medical refunds work in general, and then how having a child who's neurodiverse can completely change the game when doing your tax return. So just a little bit about Stratfin. That's our company, founded by Ilan Rabinowitz. He's got about 20 years tax experience. And really, our company, we do everything but regular taxes, always irregular tax. We've got a couple creative angles for companies, for individuals, and different approaches when doing payroll, and very creative approaches. And our whole angle is always to unlock hidden tax refunds. Um, and the refund we're going to talk about tonight is our medical refund. It really is the refund we're most involved in. We've got a team of about 20 people just dealing with this area of the business. So I'm going to go into a bit of theory, and if you do lose me in the theory, not to worry. The take homes are very clear, and at least I hope to be clear. If there are questions which you come up with, please do drop them in the chat, and I'll get to them at the end. So there's a concept called medical rebates, which basically means like this, that over the last financial year, starting March 2025, ending in Feb 2026, that's the 2026 financial year, you obviously pay tax, and as well as a Medicaid contribution in most cases, and other medical expenses. SARS will then, at tax season, which opened around beginning of June, and still open, and is we at towards the end of tax season, and SARS now gives an opportunity to get refunds back. One of the opportunities is a medical refund. What SARS do is that a family with a medical aid, they'll give back 300 Rand per member that's on a medical aid per month. So take a family of four, that's 300 Rand times four times 12, which comes to 14,400. That's your Section 6A, very straightforward, no fancy footwork there. And a lot of you may be getting this rebate without even being aware of it. The medical aids are putting that information directly to SARS on the main member of the medical aid. It is important to note that it's obviously a medical rebate. So as a taxpayer, you can only claim back as much tax as you've paid, which this is very important, that if the main member of the medical aid uh, is not a taxpayer. So let's say you've got a stay home mom who's looking after the family, and she's the main member of the medical aid. You you may very well be missing out on these medical rebates because dad is the one paying tax, dad is the one paying for the medical aid, and he's the one who's entitled to the medical rebates. And unless you point that out to SARS, dad won't be getting these medical rebates. So that's just one important point. The next important point is that there's something called a Section 6B. And Section 6B is a little bit more complicated. Mm, the way it works is as follows. So you get a percentage back on all your medical spend. Your medical spend is your medical aid contribution, as well as your out-of-pocket expenses with medical aid to not cover. And SARS will give you a percentage of that back. What that percentage is not straightforward, and the reason being is because the more you earn, the less you get back in this percentage rebate of your medical spend. So that's why I say it's quite a complex formula. And the main point to remember is that you are getting a percentage back. And why that's relevant is because if you're getting a percentage back, it's very important to always document all your medical spend. The easiest way to do that is by submitting everything to the medical aid. Now, I know many people on a hospital plan. I myself am on a hospital plan for my family. We spend over 9,000 Rand a month on the hospital plan, and they cover almost nothing. And I still always tell my wife to submit everything to medical aid. The speech therapist, the occupational therapist, the over-the-counter medicine. And I know that SARS won't cover that. But sorry, I know the medical aid won't cover that. But at least then it shows up on my medical aid tax certificate. The medical aid is acting as my personal logbook for all my medical spend. And now I'll get a percentage of that back. So that's a very important uh, second take home that we've mentioned. Always submit everything to the medical aid so that you can get a percentage of that back. The third take home, and this is once again, this is just medical rebates explained, irrespective of how neurodiversity and other medical conditions can completely change the game and make it even more exciting. But so far, what we've said is that the person paying for the medical aid is the one who's entitled to the rebate. Make sure that the person paying for the medical aid is also the main member of the medical aid to ensure that you get your rebate. And if you haven't done that in the past, there is ways to rectify that, not to worry. Second point is because you're getting in your Section 6B a percentage back, always submit everything to the medical aid. And point three is that if you're covering your parents' medical aid or anyone else's in the family's medical aid, even if they're not on your family plan, you're entitled to getting a percentage of that back. So you might not get anything in your Section 6A, but you will get something in your Section 6B. And it's important to prove that to SARS that you're paying for other people's medical aids and you can get a percentage of that back. Okay, now we get to the more exciting part of the webinar. What SARS say is that when there's someone in the family struggling or navigating a medical condition in one of six categories: intellectual, vision, communication, physical, mental health, hearing loss, any of these categories, that formula which SARS applies to you in your Section 6B is a completely different formula and also doesn't so-called penalize high earners. So I'm going to give common examples, and even though I know we're talking to parents from the Sikh school, and I just want to mention a big thank you to the Sikh school, which was so eager and happy to assist with this webinar and host us. It really shows their care for the parent body, and we thank them very much. So the most common examples that we're dealing with in our office, and we deal with about 100 new families every single month, is obviously intellectual, so there's all your learning difficulty. In the mental health category, ADHD, anxiety, bipolar, um, severe behavioral disorders. Um, in the physical, what SARS say is that even if one is able to walk without assistive devices, but with a degree of difficulty, or what could fall under physical is sleep apnea, severe rheumatoid arthritis, in communication, apraxia. There's so many medical conditions which one would never have thought would qualify for an additional medical rebate, but really they do. And it's very important to stop and say, 1 second, I know a family member who's struggling with this medical condition. Let me make them aware of this benefit. And really, almost any medical condition that's affecting a person moderately to severely, and that's a very, very important point there. It's moderate as opposed to mild, but also moderate doesn't need to be severe. If there is a moderate medical condition affecting a person in their day-to-day life, whether socially or at school or in their work life, doesn't matter the age, this unlocks tremendous financial relief when doing your tax return. And to make it practical, what happens is when there is a family with a family member who's, let's just go with the example of neurodiverse, autism, or any other medical condition affecting their day-to-day life. What happens is as follows. Let's go back to our example of a family of four. And to keep numbers round, let's just say that family is spending 10,000 Rand in their medical aid contribution. So that's 120,000 Rand for the year. And out of pocket expenses, let's say they're paying another 2,000 Rand. So that's another 24,000 Rand. That's a total of 144,000 Rand. Previously, without a medical condition, this family would get back roughly about 20,000 Rand when they do their tax return. SARS will now give you them the most favorable outcome by applying the higher formula, the higher percentage formula of a flat 33%, irrespective of the earnings of the taxpayer. So even if a taxpayer is a big earner, he will get back 33% of all his medical spend. That's 33% of the entire medical contribution, 33% of the out-of-pocket expenses. Taking our example of 144,000 Rand on just those expenses to giving him back 33% of 144 is roughly 47,000 Rand, call it. So we just jumped this family from 20,000 Rand to 47,000 Rand just by making them aware of this opportunity. The next piece of magic, and this is complete magic, the next piece of magic is that if you're paying for school fees and the school is a school specialized in dealing with neurodiverse learning, remedial learning, or learning difficulty, even though school is normally not a medical spend, normally it's viewed as an educational expense, which doesn't give you a medical refund. Because the school specializes in this space, what SARS will do is they'll say, okay, another school in your area perhaps is 1,000 Rand a month. Your school is 10,000 Rand a month. That's a 9,000 Rand difference. So I was going to say, okay, 9 times 12 is roughly 110,000 Rand. And they'll say, you can get back 33% of that 110,000 Rand. We've just added another 37,000 Rand to this family's medical refund. And this family can now get back close to 70,000 Rand, or even a bit above 70,000 Rand when they do their tax return. This can completely wipe out your entire PAYE. Obviously, you can never pay more than your PAYE. You can never get back more than your PAYE. This is a medical tax refund. You can never get refunded more money than you've paid SARS. But if you've wiped out your entire PAYE, there's nothing to complain about. You're doing great. Another example that's overlooked when looking at this is travel. If travel to the school is significant, you can claim back on the travel. Other examples is if you're paying for a scribe, a facilitator, extra lessons, anything related to the medical condition, to the medical impairment, is now viewed as a medical expense, and you're able to claim 33% of that back. This really changes the game when you're trying to give your child the best shot at education, in doing well at school, and you know you can get back 33% of that. It really changes the game. So when I went to the market and I worked this out, I took on a few families to assist them with it, and through trial and error, we learned the ins and outs of of medical spend, of medical tax back. We've become the specialist in the game, and we really worked out what are the hurdles, what are the pitfalls, what is SARS looking for, what claims do get accepted, what claims don't get accepted, and how to maximize these claims. So the first thing we did is we said, okay, fine, we've got a family who's come forward with autism, say, and they want help with this financial year. And oftentimes they've already submitted their financials, or like, how do we assist this family? And we've managed to work out how to successfully do a backdated claim without it triggering an audit, without it opening up a tax return, just arguing the last 3 years in the medical rebates, and successfully we got about 95% success rate in backdated claims. So the first thing we do is a backdated claim. The next thing we look at is where will we get the more favorable outcome? What will be if we did it in mom's name? What will be if we did it in dad's name? And based on that, or perhaps we split it, maybe we do school fees in mom's name and medical aid in dad's name. And based on that, we do the claim. It's very important to always know where you'll get the more favorable outcome because by doing it in the right spouse or potentially splitting it, and sometimes we even reverse things which have happened in the previous years in the one spouse and do it in the other spouse. This alone can make a difference of tens and tens of thousands of rands. One example that comes to mind is there was a family with three children in remedial schooling. The remedial school was very expensive, one of the top remedial schools in the country. And just by changing around who the main member was, filling in the correct forms, we were able to recover hundreds of thousands of rands for this family. So very important to know what you're doing and to make sure you always maximize your medical refund. The next thing we do is because the process can be very daunting, you need to get an RTRDD form signed by a specialist. That form alone is very complex. One tick in the wrong place, your claim won't be accepted. There's a lot of miseducation even by the medical professionals of when filling in that form. So we assist with getting that form filled out and filled out correctly, writing motivational letters to the medical professional, assisting with getting the school fees as well as the comparative school fee, assisting with putting that entire stack of documents together, and then putting that claim forward to SARS correctly the first time, doing the calculation for SARS so that it doesn't get delayed, and monitoring that claim and dealing with the correspondence back and forward until we get that claim over the line. So really what we do is we take what could be an absolute nightmare and we do it all in office, remove the admin headache, and just run with the whole claim ourselves to make it as easy as possible for our clients. Our fee for those who would like to use us is 20% of success, which means that if you don't get any refund, you'll never see an invoice from us. If you do get a 50,000 Rand invoice, sorry, if you do get a 50,000 Rand refund, you'll keep 40,000 and we'll invoice you 10,000 Rand of that 50,000. So it's 20%. Obviously, our team is there to help, even if you don't, even if you just want to lead on us for help, for advice, we're there, we're keen to help. As mentioned, we've got quite a large team, client managers, three CAs, four tax administrators, all there to just help fellow South Africans in this opportunity. We don't know how long this opportunity will be around for. There's a lot of talk about nationalizing government health, which the first thing that's going to go is these benefits around the medical aids. So very very important to maximize and take the opportunity while it's there. And yeah, all I can say is if I can leave parents with the following message: take action, think good, it'll be good. Tax, whilst it can be very scary, really, if you follow the protocols and you follow what SARS are looking for, it's not that scary. And you can team up with professionals who are there to help, who want to help, and have got a lot of experience in this space. Before I wrap up, I'm going to look at the Q&A. If there's any questions, please do let me know. Please do put them in the chat. Okay, I see we've got one question here. Can you still do a refund application? Although I've already submitted my PAYE, absolutely. We can definitely assist with that. Not only for this last financial year, we can go back to 25, 24, and sometimes even 23 financial years. So yeah, definitely not too late at all. Any other questions? I think we're good. And I think we're ready to wrap up. I'm very happy I was able to keep the webinar short, sweet, to the point. If I didn't clarify anything, please feel free to reach out to anyone on the team. Sorry, I can see someone is typing. I won't wrap up just yet. Take your time. I am just going to mention that there will be a WhatsApp which will go out after the webinar. You can just follow the prompts if you'd like to be assisted. And yeah, really, you can talk to anyone on the team. They're there to help, excited to help, and yeah, just reach out. A conversation has never hurt anyone. Someone is typing a question, so we'll just wait for them. Here we go. I just submitted my tax. Is it too late to amend and add my claim for autism? I'm assuming also the school fees as well as on the medical aid. And the answer is absolutely not. There is ways to correct. There's a few ways to do it. You can either request for correction, which can be quite risky because then you are opening yourself up for an audit. But there's other ways to do it um, where it won't trigger an audit, a notice of objection in some cases. And also, if it is autism didn't start in 2026, January, when your child may have joined the school. Autism is something the child was born with, and important that you can claim back for 25, year 24, at least on the medical aid if the school fees wasn't relevant. I hope that answered the question. Can I send my details? Yes, a WhatsApp will go out to all parents afterwards. Please feel free to follow the prompts, and yeah, you'll talk to someone on the team, and they are keen and happy to help. All right, any other questions? We'll give it one more minute. Amazing. I'm glad I answered the question. And dear parents, for those of you whose children are sleeping, wishing you a good night. For those of you whose children are still awake, wishing you good luck and a blessed evening and a good rest of week.